come.
He won't be the first manager that would be conned to coming here.
So you think he's been conned?
Potentially, if there's no ownership change. All managers suffer the same fate, don't they? And that's one of the biggest reasons why you've been, not as excited as maybe other people over the last week.
It's more for me. It's not necessarily that I think no manager's ever going to work here. I'm just frustrated about the fact that we started another project. Within that project, we finished 5th and won a trophy, and we've abandoned that to go another direction, and it's again another transition and all this kind of stuff. That's what I'm frustrated about. Now, I've never been on sorry, there's been a fire alarm here. I don't know if you can hear it. I've never been on the train of doesn't matter what manager comes in, they're doomed to fail, all that kind of stuff. Because I do think that it is possible to have success and win trophies, and it's proven. We just won a trophy, so we can win trophies at this football club. But we need to do things in a smart way, and we need to stick to a plan. But we didn't do that. That's what I'm frustrated about. We didn't stick to it. We went in another direction. Now we're bringing Frank. Now I've got no problem with Frank in itself. I've got a problem with the instability that another change might bring. Hopefully Frank can hit the ground running quickly, and we're not going to be sitting here with another season of a transition and another season of waiting and another season of this and that. And we can start competing again next season. And I think maybe he can. Frank's a very good manager. It's possible. But it's also possible it might be a season of transition, which will be frustrating. Now, you've been banging on the drum that any manager that comes in here is doomed. And doesn't matter who we have, they're going to fail.
Yeah.
So why are you excited about Frank then?
Because I think some managers can work in spite of the ownership, like Pochettino did.
So they're not doomed to fail?
Well, certain managers might not be, but I think ultimately it always does end up the same, doesn't it?
I agree.
You've been saying. So if that's not due to the ownership and maybe, managers not all doomed to fail, I think very clever managers that can work with what they got, for the most part, can do a job. Will it all end in tears like every other manager? I just got to live and pray that it doesn't. It's more hope than anything else, because I know the way this ownership operate, and I know the way they have been operating with every single manager that we've ever had, pretty much. But the way I look at Thomas Frank and the way I look at how he works with what he has and everything that we've been speaking about, it does give me a bit of hope, and that's the main reason why I'm so excited, because I see what a good coach and what a good manager he actually is.
I agree, but I'm just saying the whole season, it's been about no manager's ever going to, what's it called, the whole season, people who say it doesn't matter who comes in, it's irrelevant, every manager's come here doomed to fail and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying I agree with that, I'm just saying that's been the narrative, and now we're sitting here with the manager coming in where everyone's getting excited about a new manager.
That's just natural, isn't it? It's just a natural course of action. A new manager comes in, one that you really like, and you get excited. You're the one that was saying last week, we're probably going to be back here again in 18 months because this is how the ownership operate.
Probably, but that's not my point. My point with... that is my point actually, but it's not because I don't think Frank's a good manager, and it's not because I think no one can work under this ownership. It's the frustration that if we're going to operate how this ownership wants to operate, then you're going to need to invest time into it, and you're going to need to stick to a plan. And even if it perceivedly at points gets very bad, if you see some things to persist with, then you're going to need to give it that time.
So how do you believe that a manager will work under this ownership if you believe all that and it needs time, but this ownership never give time?
They need to give it time. They need to give it time.
On history,
I think if they do give time, then it can work.
Okay, but they don't. History suggests that they don't give time, right? So how do you believe on the history and the evidence?
Because under Poch, they did give it time, didn't they? So they can give it.
Poch was on the verge of apparently getting sacked before the Aston Villa game, and it was a free kick that saved his job.
Yeah, I do think that story's overblown. I think that was Poch's feeling. Not necessarily there was any truth to it, but yeah, I understand your point. Yeah, but I do think in terms of the way, regardless of that aspect of it, of the tricky, happy nature of Levy, I think in the way we operate, it can work if given time.
Fine, That's all well and good, and I agree with you. It can work if given time, but they never get given time, so you can't.
That's the frustration I have.
And you can't really bypass that that fact when it literally is a fact. So it brings me back to my question: like, what is your belief that it can work? A manager can work under this ownership if because of that fact?
Well, I'm that's why I'm frustrated right now.
Yeah, but you're the one that keeps saying I don't prescribe to the notion that no manager will ever work here. But then again,
we just won a trophy, so we can win trophies under this tenure.
Yeah, but I mean, would you take another season of winning a trophy and finishing 17th?
No, but I don't think we would have another season of the circumstances that we've had this season. I'd like to think. I'd like to think it was a bit of a one-off season in that aspect. But yeah, of course, I don't.
Hope it wasn't a one-off season winning the trophy.
Yeah, it might be that as well. But obviously, we just won a trophy like that, so we can win trophies. It is possible, and I think we need consistency and we need time, and we're now potentially on the cusp of another transition. It might not be. Don't get me wrong. It might not be a transitional season, and maybe we can build off some of the stuff we've been doing, and the good feeling we got off that trophy win, and getting a manager who changes things up, and maybe can get us challenging on multiple fronts. But it could be another transitional season, and I'm just sick of transitional seasons. That's my frustration right now.
Well, get used to it, mate. Have you not been used to it by now?
Yeah, I'm just bored of them.
Literally, ever since you started supporting Spurs, it's been a transitional season.
Just bored of them. I'm bored of transitional seasons. I'm just hoping it's not another one.
Can you send Daigle the link?
Yeah, send it to him.
Oh, you sent it to him.
3 minutes.
3 minutes till Daigle time, people. But yeah, I've got a lot more hope for Frank than I have done, with a lot of managers. I mean, I actually thought Conte was going to take us to the promised land. That didn't work out. I never really had that hope with Jose, not from the off anyway. Nuno, never really had too much hope in that project. Ange, I mean, when we were first linked with Ange, we were both kind of really apprehensive about it. And then when he came in, we were thinking, all right, with the story behind him, we kind of fell in love with him very quickly. Now, was it more lust than love? I don't know. But Frank, I've just got this really good feeling about Frank, and I just feel like he fits the club really well, really well. Probably the best fit that we've had since Pochettino.
Well, how long till you lose patience again?
If we finish 17th, then it might happen. But I'm going to give... look, I said this under Postecoglou, but I'm going to give it a fair whack, man. I'm not going to turn on Frank like I turned on Ange. I guarantee you that.
Even if we do finish 17th?
What, in the second season? If we do finish 17th in the second season, yeah, I probably will turn on. But I think you probably will as well.
Depends if we have all the injuries again.
I don't think any manager should be afforded finishing 17th in the second season. But like I said,
Depends on the context.
At the end of the season, there's no context involved that that finishing 17th can be acceptable.
It's not acceptable, but it's understandable.
Nah, not 17th.
No, we've been through it so many times. But for me...
For a poorer season, yeah, but 17th...
Do you think if we... Let's say Ange went out against RZ in that Europa League, and all the wins that we got in... Let's say we've got in Europa League, right? We put them in the Premier League, and we finished like 10th or 9th, and he kind of had a good end to the Premier League season. Do you reckon he would still be in a job?
Sorry, what's the this hypothetical this time?
If he didn't win Europa League, but he kind of had a really good end to the Premier League season and finished like 9th, do you think he would have kept his job?
No.
You don't think so? Even if he saved the Premier League season in that way, didn't finish 17th?
No, I don't think so. Maybe, because it would have meant we had a really strong second half of the season. There is a potential for it.
Which is ridiculous when you think about it.
But he didn't.
He won the trophy instead.
Yeah.
Which is better.
Yeah. I mean, we as fans prefer it, yeah.
And I think the board should prefer it.
Yeah, well, the board don't align with me and you, Sim.
I know, but that's why I'm saying it's ridiculous that we're talking about he might have kept his job if he finished 9th with no trophy, but because he binned off the opportunity and went for the trophy.
Yeah, but look, there was, at the end of the day, right, we were still, like, if you gave me this hypothetical, like 6 months ago saying he would have won the trophy, look, I was saying I would still want him sacked if he won the trophy. But then when it came down to it, I was saying, look, keep it. Let's keep him on. And if I had my way, I probably would still be sitting here saying I want Ange to stay. But now Frank's here, I'm very happy. But a lot of fans would have said to you, keep him on if he's won the trophy. So who knows, man? The club just work in mysterious ways.
All right, well, let's bring on the Frankaholic.